Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. So this is the part 2 for the tour of Newport News. This is stage 4, this is the circuit race. So this is the 4th and final stage, and we're going to get into it. There's a lot to cover. This race was a lot of fun. It was a lot of moves, a lot of counter moves, and it kept it pretty interesting, it kept it pretty spicy. So we're getting into this. In this race we have myself, and we have Brian, and we have Flo. Paul, if you remember from the last video, unfortunately crashed and broke his collarbone, so he is out. So it is just the three of us for this race. And our strategy was for me to actually lead Flo out. I was feeling strong from the day before, but Flo was fresher than I was. And I figured a course like this should be all together for a field sprint, and I'm confident in Flo's ability to win out of this group in a sprint. So the strategy was for me to lead him out. And Brian was going to be kind of the person who was going to keep it together and chase breaks back and make sure that the group stay together. So let's dive into this race. There's a lot to cover. So the course is a 5-kilometer loop on Fort Eustis, which is down in Newport News. Really nice fort. We got to use the entire road, no centerline rule, which is awesome. So very fast, very flat, long sweeping left turn here, and then there's going to be a couple of 90-degree turns on the backside, and then from the final turn to the finish line is probably like 350 meters. So kind of a long sprint, but there's a chicane before you get to that final turn, or there's a chicane going into the final turn, so you really want to be in top position going into that final turn, because unless you have a wicked sprint, it's going to be hard to pass people on that last straight. So moves going up on the right, you're going to see a lot of this in this video, and I'm surfing wheels. I don't want to spend too much energy. I want to stay fresh. I see Flo come up here, and I'm going to swing up, and I'm going to break the wind for him. I want to keep him protected as much as possible. He's the sit-in sprinter. I want to make sure that he sees as little wind as possible. Tom up here in NCBC is going to come up. Normally, so I would be a little worried about all these moves going up the road, but because there are so many people going and chasing the break, I realize that the whole group is going to just up the tempo, and we're going to catch the break. At least that's what I'm banking on. I'm banking on the fact that there are so many people going up the road that we can use the draft of the riders going faster. And it's single file now, but you can kind of see where it's gaps open, but the break is more or less caught. Like, we're all kind of together. We're strung out, but we're kind of together. And I am okay with this. I'm okay with this. I'm sitting in the wheel. So we're going to fast forward a little more. So Brian's up on the left on the Pinarello in the new Meta kit for this year. And you're going to see him kind of go up on the left. And this is exactly what we want. There's, I believe, a break, I think a solo break up the road right now, maybe two. And this is what we want. This is ideal for us, because we want Brian to stitch things together and to keep it together, right? If there is a winning breakaway and he gets in it, great. We have representation up the road. But ideally, again, we want to keep it together, and we want to kind of put together a lead-out train for Sean into the last lap, into the last half of the last lap. So this long stretch on the backside here was mostly headwind. I believe it was right to left. But again, I'm surfing wheels. I do not want to do any more work than I have to do. I'm going to let some gaps open right here. I'm kind of figuring out and feeling out which side's faster, kind of deciding which side to go with. But I don't want to move too close to the front. So right now I'm being pretty selective with which surges I follow. Still a breakup one up the road. More surging though. We're going to catch up. You're going to notice the CS Velo guy, if you noticed, in the pink jersey, move up pretty fast on the right. And he's going to bridge to the person in the break. But again, the pace is high enough in this group. I'm not very concerned about a break getting away. But it was really interesting to watch the different break attempts and the counter moves in this race. It kept it interesting. There really was no boring aspect of this race at all. Like, there was not really, I mean, I'm sitting in obviously, but there was not a lot of like just kind of chilling out in the group. Like, it was always either a move or a counter move going up the road, which kept it interesting. It was really fun to watch, and it was really fun to race, obviously. But I'm going to follow these moves. Again, I'm not going to be in the wind. I know Flo is behind me by a few wheels. This early in the race, I'm not worried about moving up, surfing wheels more. And this right now is a weird spot, because now I surged up, but now I'm kind of in the wind. But first, I noticed this jet-powered helicopter. And it's pink. That's pretty badass, not gonna lie. Anyway, so I followed a surge up the left side, and now I'm in the wind, not ideal, but I kind of didn't really have a choice, right? Like, I could have sat in and I could have let the move go, but there was already momentum going up the left side. I figured I'll follow it again. I'm not going to burn too many matches here. I'm going to try my best, though, to get back into the draft, which is hard, right? Because now I have this rider to my right who has the wheel. And these two riders were in the break. I'm pretty sure that's the CS Fellow guy who made that move earlier. So we catch them, and then I'm going to eventually get back into the group. And now we're going to go to another move that Brian makes. And again, I believe there's another solo break off the front. Again, a lot of the breaks and counter moves going up in this race. Brian's going to surge it here, but he doesn't really get separation. There was another rider in front of him going already, and he doesn't snap the elastic, and the group kind of follows him. And I'm going to not chase my teammate. I'm going to sit in. I'm going to sit behind Carl here on NCVC, and I'm going to let Brian and the others do the work to bring the break back. I think at this point in the race, I noticed that Brian, in this particular move, was doing a lot of work on the front, which is fine, but it's also, I want to see him kind of like get back and take turns, right? So now we're going to fast forward a little more. We're back together. I have John Gracely that was on the blue track next to me. Boom. Break got caught, counter move goes, and here is an interesting tactic that I use. It's not even really a tactic. I sit up and I kind of hesitate almost to wait to see who is going to do the chasing, right? And so I noticed that, I think this is David on Trek or on District Taco in front of me. I wait a little bit. I notice that they're going to surge. I want to be very, very selective with how I use my matches, right? So I'm going to follow this move here. He's a good draft to be behind it. But the problem is now the guy that was chasing is going to pull off. And so now I have a choice, right? Now I'm like, okay, well, I kind of want to follow this move. And I surge up, and Carl saves the day. Thank you, Carl, for the absolute hero pull. He comes around me. I am very happy to get in this draft. He's going to pull me up, and I'm pretty sure the group is behind me, which, again, is ideal. I kind of want the group to stay together. I like my chances in a breakaway. I can be a decent breakaway rider, as I found out with Poolsville. But, again, tactic here is to get Sean with the group in the last part of the lap. But the break's still off the front, so there's still 3 riders off the front, there's 1 chaser, and then there's us. And the cutaway guy on the front kind of just like waved us to go through, nobody did, but eventually we bring them back, and guess what happens? 3, 2, 1, boom. Big counterattack on the left. Basically, half the group is going with that, but it was basically this the entire time. You're seeing a trend here, right? Catch the break, counterattack. Catch the break, counterattack. Which is really smart. If the group slows down as we catch the break, that's a perfect time to do a counterattack. But the problem was that the pace of the group was high enough that we weren't going to let anything go, and there was never a breakaway group with proper representation from all the big teams to make it stick, right? So the big teams in this race were NCBC. I think had the most guys. They were rolling pretty deep. Cutaway, I think, had a few. We had 3. A couple others had like 2 or 3. So we're going to fast forward a bit more now. This is the last half of the last lap, and every surge matters now. Every surge matters. I want to follow every move, and I'm going to follow this at the risk of almost getting pinched out on the side. I tell that guy that I'm on his right. He gives me space, so I'm okay. I'm going to follow this move, and what I didn't realize in the moment, but what I'm going to kind of realize soon, is NCVC's putting together a lead-out train for John Gracely. So Carl in front of me, Sean Sorby in front of him. John's actually behind me, and I am unintentionally ruining their lead-out train, which, again, I apologize, was not on purpose, but I'm just trying to follow the draft. John's here behind me, you can see him here. And Flo is over there in the red or yellow. I can't speak. So he is far on the other side of the group, right? He should be where John is right now, or even David on the white track. But I'm on the far right. I do not like this position. I'm not getting a very good draft because I'm on the very, very edge of the road. And again, I'm ruining the NCVC lead out, so apologies. Didn't mean to do that. And now I'm kind of in the wind. This is not what I want to do. This is not where I want to be on the last lap. and Sean is on the other side of the group, which is not good. So I want to try to get in a draft as much as possible. John had told me to move up, but he just ends up coming around me, which ends up working out because now I have a draft, right? So I'm going to sit in the draft here. I'm going to try to find a good spot. I really want to try to find Sean. Or at this point, Sean, being the sprinter, being behind me, he should try to find me. So he should be moving in this group to try to find me as soon as he can, because we're coming into the last half of the lap. I mean, there's probably another, I'm going to guess 1,000 meters at this point left. But there's going to be a couple sharp turns, and we really need to be in good position before those turns because it's going to be really hard to move through the group after that. And I'm not a huge fan of this position. I wish I was a little further up. I realized after this race, after watching this footage back, the left side, you could see Alex on NCVC move up on the left. The left side was generally faster, and there was actually more space across the white line to move up. And in hindsight, I should have been on that side, right? Because now you see like a lot of the field moving up on the left. I should be up there. But now I'm kind of in the middle of the group. I'm going to try to move over to the left. Okay, now I like this position better, but now I'm kind of boxed in, right? Because now I have a better draft in the middle, but I can't really move to the left or the right. So if a surge happens here, I'm kind of stuck unless more of the group goes with me. And at this point, Flo tells me he's on my wheel, which is great. So he's sitting right behind me now. I like this. And again, I'm trying to find a place where we can move up, right? It's really hard to shift around when the pack is together like this, right? And soon after he tells me that he's on my wheel, you see this surge on the left, and I have to follow this. So I kick it up here. I have to follow this move. This is like the last move. And Flo told me after the race he had a slight hesitation to follow me. He didn't feel like he had that edge quite yet. And, Isaac out here on the right, like I remember that point almost running into him. Almost felt like I was going to slide out. Save it though. It was all right. People were going into the grass at that point. It was wild. So now it's just lights out, like let's just sprint for what we can. This is going to be the last right and then the final left and then the final straight. And so I'm going to try to carry as much of my speed as possible. And I take a decent line for this last turn actually, so you're going to see Isaac kind of kick it out wide. I take the inside, which I was pretty proud of. So I'm going to take the inside, and then I'm not even going to wait for my sprint. I'm just going to go now because everybody else is going. So I'm just going to kick it as hard as I can. And this guy Andre here on the left just comes around me like it was easy, like it was nothing. And we're going 38 miles an hour. I'm going 38 miles an hour. He's going 40, right? And I'm putting out like 800, 900 watts just for the entire final straight. Managed to pass a few people, though. I was pretty proud of that. Managed to pass a few people. I got like 22nd or 21st, I think. So like another mid-pack finish for this weekend. But this is a fun race. It was safe, very fast, and I had a blast. So now we're going to go to Flo's perspective. So Flo gave me his footage, and this is going to be the last lap. So we're going to show you what it looked like from his perspective trying to find my wheel, and then the finishing sprint for him. So he's further back in the peloton than I am right now. I'm up here. You can't really see me, but I'm riding a red bike, the red bike that I've always raced on. So right here, I'm right in front of him now. And so at this point, I'm going to pause it because I'm going to show you I'm not filling a gap in front of me, and because I'm trying to figure out what side I should be on, and I end up kind of just staying in the middle, like you saw in my footage, which isn't ideal. It's not great, right? Like I get a better draft, but I'm not able to move as easily through the group. So I kind of just stay here in the middle. Sean's going to tell me right about now that he's on my wheel. So I'm going to nod, I think, acknowledge that he's on my wheel, that I know he's there. And then soon, in a few seconds, you're going to see this shift up the left. And this is the one that I have to follow. Again, like, there's no other way for me to get out of this group. And I was fortunate enough that enough of the pack surged. So you're going to see that ECE rider shift up on the left there, followed by District Taco, basically like half the field on the left side. And I'm going to follow that. And this is where Sean said he had a little hesitation, so he wasn't really able to follow, and he lost my wheel. But what you are going to see... Oh yeah, so we're going to slow it down first because you're going to see people like on the right go off into the grass, that pink jersey there. So that's always interesting. Nobody crashed though, so that was good. But you're gonna see coming up, again, like I said, Flo has a ridiculous sprint. And he showed me the number, so I maxed out at like 38 and a half, I think, miles an hour, and he maxed out at like 40. So he was actually going, if he had a couple hundred more meters, he was going to catch us, or he was going to catch me at least. So you're going to see here, we're going to count it out, how many people he passes, right? So, let's see. He's going to pass 2 riders at least on the right, this blue guy on the right, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5, wait for it, 6, 7, 8. He passes 8 riders in the final straight, which is hella impressive. So, ridiculous. So, really fun weekend. Again, thanks to Team Hampton Roads and Graham for putting this on. This race was a ton of fun. I had a blast. Apparently, the email post-race said that the military, the people on this base, and the town of Newport News are already down to do it again next year, so we will definitely be back. Yeah, ton of fun. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and yeah, I will catch you at the next one. Thanks for watching.